Okay, family, we are now starting with part 7 on who were the Gentiles that Yahushua sent Paul to. And this is part 7, so I encourage you, if you're just not tuning in now, to not to skip any parts. Go back to part 1. I have it all in a playlist, so it should keep everything in order. So to go to the playlist, and it should keep it all in order. Okay, we stopped out in part 6. We didn't finish in Second Kings, and we stopped at Second Kings chapter 21. We finished that up because we were talking about Judah because we already went through the northern kingdom on what got them exiled to Assyria because they were gone. Now they're gone, and then now we in Second Kings we're reading about Judah's part because Judah, as I say, they did their dirt as well. But it was a slight difference on how the Most High treated them. So we're going to start at I'm sorry, in 2 Kings 22, verse 1. And Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Yedidah, the daughter of Adiah of Basquat. And he did what was right in the eyes of Yahuwah, and walked in all the ways of his father David, which is David, and did not turn aside right or left. And it came to be in the 18th year of King Josiah that the king sent Japhon the scribe, son of Asaliahu, son of Meshullam, to the house of Yahuwah, saying, Go up to Hezekiah, the high priest, and let him weigh the silver which has been brought into the house of Yahuwah, which the doorkeepers have gathered from the people. And let them give it into the hand of those doing the work, who are the overseers in the house of Yahuwah. And let them give it to those who are in the house of Yahuwah doing the work, to repair the damages of the house, to carpenters, and to builders, and to stone masons, and to buy timber and hewn stone to repair the house. However, let not the silver given into their hand be reckoned with them, for they are acting trustworthy. And Hilkiah, the high priest, said to Shaphan, the scribe, I have found the book of the Torah in the house of Yahuwah. And Hilkiah gave the book to Shaphan, and he read it. And Shaphan, the scribe, came to the king and brought word to the king again, saying, Your servants have gathered the silver that was found in the house, and have given it into the hand of those who do the work, who oversee the house of Yahuwah. And Shaphan, the scribe, informed the king, saying, Hilkiah, the high priest, has given me a book. And Shaphan read it before the king. And it came to be when the king heard the words of the book of the Torah that he tore his garments. And the king commanded Hilkiah the priest, and Ahikam the son of Japan, and Akbar the son of Micaiah, and Shaphan the scribe, and Asaiah a servant of the king, saying this: Go, inquire of Yahuwah for me, for the people, and for all of Judah, concerning the words of this book that has been found. So within the book has been lost or ignored for years. For great is the wrath of Yahuwah that is kindled against us, because our fathers have not obeyed the words of this book, to do according to all that is written concerning us. Then Hilkiah the priest, and Ahikam, and Akbar, and Shaphan, and Asaiah went to Huldah, the prophetess, the wife of Shalom, son of Tikwa, son of Hohaz, keeper of the wardrobe. Now, she was dwelling in Jerusalem in the second quarter, and they spoke with her. And she said to them, thus said Yahuwah, Elohim of Yasharel, say to the man who sent you to me, thus said Yahuwah, see, I am bringing evil on this place and on its inhabitants, and all the words of the book which the king of Judah has read, because they have forsaken me and burned incense to other gods to provoke me with all the works of their hands. And so my wrath shall be kindled against this place and not be quenched. And to the king of Judah, who sent you to inquire of Yahuwah, say this to him. Thus said Yahuwah, Elohim of Yasharel, as for the words which you have heard, because your heart was tender, and you humbled yourself before Yahuwah, when you heard what I spoke against this place and against its inhabitants, that they would become a ruin and a curse, and you tore your garments and wept before me. I also have heard, declares Yahuwah. Therefore, see, I am gathering you to your fathers, and you shall be gathered to your grave in peace, so that your eyes do not see all the evil I am bringing on this place. And they brought word to the king. And the king sent, and they gathered all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem to him. And the king went up to the house of Yahuwah with all the men of Judah and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, and the priests and the prophets and all the people, both small and great. And he read in their hearing all the words of the book of the covenant, which had been found in the house of Yahuwah. And the king stood by the column and made a covenant before Yahuwah again, to follow Yahuwah and to guard his commands and his witnesses and his laws with all his heart and all his being, to establish the words of this covenant that were written in this book. And all the people stood to the covenant. Then the king commanded Hilkiah the high priest and the priests of the second order and the doorkeepers to bring out of the temple of Yahuwah all the objects that were made for Baal and for Asherah and for all the hosts of the Shemayim, the heavens. And he burnt them outside of Jerusalem in the fields of Kedron and took their ashes to Bethel. And he put down the black robed priests from the sovereigns of Judah and appointed to burn licensed incense on the high places of the cities of Judah and in the places all around Jerusalem, and those who burnt incense to Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the constellations, and to all the hosts of the Shemayim. And he brought out the Asherah from the house of Yahuwah to the Wadi Kedron, outside Jerusalem, and burnt it at the Wadi Kedron, and ground it to ashes, and threw its ashes on the graves of the sons of the people. And he broke down the houses of the male cult prostitutes that were in the house of Yahuwah, where the women wove tapestries for the Asherah, the gods. And he brought all the priests from the cities of Judah and defiled the high places where the priests had burned incense, from Geba to Beersheba, and broke down the high places at the gates, which were at the entrance of the gate of Joshua, the governor of the city, which were to be left of the city gate. However, the priests of the high places did not come up to the altar of Yahuwah in Jerusalem, but they ate unleavened bread among their brothers. And he defiled Tophet, which is in the valley of Ben Hinnom, so that no man could make his son or his daughter pass through the fire to Molech. And he did away with the horses that the kings of Judah had given to the sun at the entrance to the house of Yahuwah, by the room of Nathan-Melech, the eunuch, that were in the court. And he burned the chariots of the sun with fire, and the altars that were on the roof of the upper room of Ahaz, which the kings of Judah had made, and the altars which Manasseh had made in the two courtyards of the house of Yahuwah. The king broke them all down and rushed from there and threw their dust into the water Kidron. And the king defiled the high places that were before Jerusalem, which were on the right hand of the mountain of destruction, which Solomon, king of Yasharel, built for Ashtoreth, the abominations of the Sidonians, and for Chemosh, the abomination of the Moabites, and for Mecham, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And he broke in pieces the pillars and cut down the Asherim, filled their places with the bones of men, and also the altar that was at Bethel, and the high places which Jeroboam, son of Nebat, made, by which he made Yasharel sin. Both that altar and the high place he broke down, and he burnt the high place and ground it to the dust, and burnt the Asherah, the god. Then Josiah turned and saw the tombs that were on the mountain, and he was going off, y'all. He was tearing down everything. And he sent and took the bones out of the tombs and burnt them on the altar and defiled it according to the word of Yahuwah, which the man of Elohim proclaimed, who proclaimed these words. And he said, "What tombstone is this that I see?" And the men of the city said to him, "It is the tomb of the man of Elohim who came from Judah and proclaimed these matters which you have done against the altar of Bethel." And he said, "Let him alone. Let no one move his bones." So they left his bones, which was the bones of either it was Jeremiah or Isaiah, I can't remember. So they left his bones alone, and the bones of the prophet who came from Samaria. And Josiah also took away all the houses of the high places that were in the cities of Samaria, because they was in there too, which the kings of Yasharel had made to provoke. And he did to them according to all the deeds that he did in Bethel. And he slaughtered all the priests of the high places who were there on the altars and burnt men's bones on them. And then he went back to Jerusalem. And the king commanded all the people, saying, "Prepare the Passah," which is a Passover, "to Yahuwah your Elohim, as it is written in this book of the covenant." He had the book, y'all. He had the Torah. His preachers, they found it and gave it to him, and he read it. "For such a Passover has not been prepared since the days of the rulers who ruled Yasharel, nor in all the days of the kings of Yasharel and the kings of Judah." He said this has not been done. Passover hadn't been done since those days. "But in the 18th year of King Josiah, this Passover was prepared before Yahuwah in Jerusalem. And also Josiah put away those who consulted mediums and spiritists, and which was the witchcraft, and the household mighty ones and idols, and all the abominations that were seen in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem, in order to establish the words of the Torah which were written in the book that Hilkiah the priest found in the house of Yahuwah, that gave it to him. And before him there was no king like him, who turned back to Yahuwah with all his heart and with all his being and with all his might, according to all the Torah of Moses. And after him none rose up like him. None rose up like Josiah. However, though, Yahuwah still did not turn from the fierceness of his great wrath, with which his wrath burned against Judah, because of all the provocations with which Manasseh had provoked him. And Yahuwah, in other words, Most High did not forget, even though Josiah went through that and tore stuff down. What Most High has spoken, so shall it be. So everything he said was going to come to pass. And Yahuwah said, even Judah I shall remove from my presence, as I have removed Yasharel. And I shall reject this city, Jerusalem, which I have chosen, and the house which I said my name is there. And the rest of the acts of Josiah and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Judah? In other words, in the Chronicles. In his days, Pharaoh Necho, king of Mizraim, king of Egypt, went up against the king of Assyria to the river Euphrates. And King Josiah went out to him, and he killed him at Megiddo when he saw him. Oh my goodness. So, 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 Josiah was killed. I'm going to read 29 again. In his days, Pharaoh Necho, king of Mizraim, went up against the king of Assyria to the river Euphrates. And King Josiah went out to him, and he killed him at Megiddo when he saw him. And his servants conveyed his body in a chariot from Megiddo and brought him to Jerusalem and buried him in his own tomb. And the people of the land took Jehoshaphat, the son of Josiah, and anointed him and appointed him to reign in his father's place. And Jehoshaphat was 23 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did evil in the eyes of Yahuwah, according to all that his fathers did. You know, he wasn't even king that long, y'all. And Pharaoh Necho imprisoned him at Riblah in the land of Hamath to keep him from reigning in Jerusalem. And he imposed on the land a fine of 100 kikos of silver and a kiko of gold. And Pharaoh Necho appointed Elohim, the son of Josiah, to reign in place of his father Josiah, and changed his name to Joachim. And Pharaoh took I'm butchering these names. And Pharaoh took Joazaz and went to Mizraim, and he died there. And Joachim gave the silver and the gold to Pharaoh. Only he taxed the land to give silver according to the command of Pharaoh. He exacted the silver and gold from the people of the land, from everyone according to his assessment, to give it to Pharaoh Necho. And Joachim was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Zebidah, the daughter of Petiah of Rumah. And he did evil in the eyes of Yahuwah, according to all that his fathers did. Now we're into 24. In his days, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up, and Joachim became his servant for 3 years. And he turned and rebelled against him. And Yahuwah sent against him raiding bands of the Chaldeans, and raiding bands of Aram, and raiding bands of Moab, and raiding bands of the children of Ammon. And he sent them against Judah to destroy it according to the word of Yahuwah, which he had spoken by his servants the prophets. Only at the command of Yahuwah this came upon Judah, to remove from his presence because of the sins of Manasseh, according to all that he did, and also because of the innocent blood that he shed. For he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, which Yahuwah would not forgive. And the rest of the acts of Jehoiakim and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the chronicles of the kings of Judah? So Jehoiakim, he slept with his fathers, and Jehoiakim, his son, reigned in his place. The names are almost similar. And the king of Mizraim did not come out of his land again, but the king of Babylon had taken all that belonged to the king of Mizraim, from the Wadi of Mizraim to the river Euphrates. And Jehoiakim was 18 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months. And his mother's name was Nehushta, the daughter of Elnathan of Jerusalem. And he did evil in the eyes of Yahuwah, according to all that his fathers did. At that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against the city as his servants were besieging it. And Jehoiakim, king of Judah, and his mother, and his servants, and his heads, and his units went out to the king of Babylon. And the king of Babylon, in the 8th year of his reign, took him prisoner. And he took from there all the treasures of the house of Yahuwah, and the treasures of the king's house. And he cut in pieces all the objects of gold which Solomon, king of Yashareah, had made in the temple of Yahuwah, as Yahuwah had said. And he exiled all of Jerusalem, and all the officers, and all the mighty brave men, 10,000 exiles, and all the craftsmen and smiths. None remained except the poorest people of the land. The exact same thing that happened with the northern kingdom when they was exiled into Assyria, and the only ones that was left in Samaria was the poor. Same thing. Same thing. And he exiled Jehoiakim to Babylon. And the sovereign's mother, and the king's mother, and the king's wives, and his eunuchs, and the leading men of the land he exiled from Jerusalem to Babylon. And all the mighty brave men, 7,000, and craftsmen and smiths, 1,000, all who were strong and fit for battle. These the king of Babylon brought to Babylon into exile. And the king of Babylon appointed Mattaniah, Jehoiakim's uncle, to reign in his place, and changed his name to Zedekiah. And Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did evil in the eyes of Yahuwah, according to all that Jehoiakim did. For this took place in Jerusalem and Judah because of the displeasure of Yahuwah, until he had cast them out from his presence. And Zedekiah, he rebelled against king of Babylon. 25. And it came to be in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, on the 10th of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and all his army came against Jerusalem and encamped against it. And they built a siege wall against it all around. And the city was besieged until the 11th year of King Zedekiah. By the 9th of the month, the scarcity of food had become so severe in the city that there was no food for the people of the land. Then the city wall was breached, and all the men of battle fled at night by way of the gate between the two walls, which was by the king's garden, even though the Chaldeans were still encamped all around against the city. And the king went by the way of the desert plain. And the army of the Chaldees pursued the king and overtook him in the desert plains of Jericho. And all his army was scattered from him. And they seized the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon at Riblah. And they pronounced a sentence on him. And they slaughtered the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes. and put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and bound him with bronze shackles, and took him to Babylon. And in the 5th month, on the 7th of the month, which was the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, Nebuzaradan, the chief of the guard, a servant of the king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem. And he burned the house of Yahuwah and the house of the king and all the houses of Jerusalem, even every great house he burnt with fire. And all the army of the Chaldeans who were with the chief of the guard broke down the walls of Jerusalem all around. And Nebuzaradan, the chief of the guard, took into exile the rest of the people who were left in the city, and the deserters who deserted to the king of Babylon with the rest of the multitude. But the chief of the guard left some of the poor of the land as vine dressers and farmers. They always leave the poor in the land to work the land, and they take the nobles and they exile them out of the land. Mm, mm. Sounds familiar now, don't it? Sounds familiar now. Mm, mm, mm. And the bronze columns that were in the house of Yahuwah, and the stands, and the bronze sea that were in the house of Yahuwah, the Chaldeans they broke in pieces. They just tearing up the Most High's house, and took their bronze away to Babel. And they took the pots and the shovels and the snuffers and the ladles and all the bronze utensils that the priests used in the service. And the chief of the guard took took the fire holders and the basins, which were of solid gold and solid silver. The bronze of all these utensils was beyond measure. The 2 columns, the 1 sea, and the stands which Solomon had made for the house of Yahuwah. The height of 1 column was 18 cubits, and the capital of it was of bronze. And the height of the capital was 3 cubits, and the network of pomegranates all around the capital were all of bronze. And the 2nd column was the same with the network. And the chief of the guard took Sariah, the chief priest, and Zephaniah, the second priest, and the 3 doorkeepers. And out of the city he took a certain eunuch who was appointed over the men of battle, and 5 men of those who saw the king's face, who were found in the city, and the chief scribe of the army, who mustered the people of the land, and 60 men of the people of the land who were found in the city. And Nezabaradim, chief of the guard, took them and made them go to the king of Babel at Riblah. And the king of Babylon smote them and put them to death at Riblah in the land of Hamath. So he exiled Judah from his own land. And he appointed Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, over the people who were left in the land of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had left. And all the commanders of the armies, they and their men, heard that the king of Babylon had appointed Gedaliah, and they came to the Gedaliah at Mizpah. Even Ishmael, son of Nathaniah, and Johanan, son of Kareah, and Sariah, son of Tahumit, the Nephalite. I'm butchering these names, and you just follow along in your Bibles. And Jehazahu, the son of a Mechanite, they and their men. And Gedaliah, he swore to them and their men, and said to them, "Do not be afraid of the servants of the Chaldeans. Dwell in the land and serve the king of Babylon, and let it be well with you." And in the 7th month, it came to be that Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, son of Elishama, of the seed of the king, came with 10 men and smote Gedaliah that he died. And the Jews and the Chaldeans who were with him at Mizpah, so all of them got killed. And all the people rose up, small and great, and the commanders of the armies, and went to Mizraim, for they were afraid of the Chaldees. And it came to be in the 37th year of the exile of Joachim, king of Judah, in the 12th month, on the 27th of the month, the Ewil Merodach, king of Babylon, in the year that he began to reign, he released Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, from prison. And he spoke kindly to him and appointed his throne above the throne of the kings who were with him in Babylon. Look at the Most High's hand. And changed his prison garments. And he ate bread continually before the king all the days of his life. And as his allowance, he got a continual allowance was given to him from the king, a quota for each day, all the days of his life. Okay, we're going to stop here, family. We're going to stop here, and then we'll go to the next section because we're getting closer and closer to who were the Gentiles that the Messiah sent sent that the Messiah sent Paul to.